The next speaker I want to introduce is Josh Humbert, whose farm I've had the pleasure of visiting several times and also diving there. And really look forward to your talk, Josh. And a lot of things. Tell us about how you set up your farm and how you work on your farm. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Lowell. This is amazing, by the way. To be here in Hong Kong speaking about oysters is pretty cool. Yeah. 43 years ago, my French father and American mother built a sailboat out of cement, chicken wire, and rebar. That actually happened. With me, my brother, 2 cats, 2 dogs, and $300, they sailed away from America in search of adventure. That year, we landed in the Sea of Cortez, Mexico. Just learning to speak, I picked up a smattering of English, French, and Spanish. In 1973, we pulled anchor and set off for Tahiti. On the way, we stopped and lived in the Marquesas Islands, and an atoll known for its warm welcome and protective anchors called Ahe. In Ahe, we became close with the locals as my father helped them to sell their fish in Tahiti. We built a house, and I spent my days fishing and running wild with the local kids in the village. I learned new words in Tahitian and local dialect Bone to add to English, French, Spanish, and Marquese. That meant that I was now processing 6 different languages to communicate with. Sounds pretty cool, right? Years later, I was to learn that the language overload was the cause of my speech disorder. True story. I battle stuttering every day. I've been attacked by sharks, nearly drowned, had bones broken by crushing waves. Yet nothing shook my confidence like the thought of standing right here in front of all of you today. True story. When my friend Laurent asked me to come to Hong Kong and speak about sustainable pearl farming, instantly my heart started racing. Who are these few people that will listen to my passion and belief in sustainable pearl farming? Clearly there can be more than that. I'm really pleased to look around this room today and see that indeed there are. To hell with the stutter. I can do this. The oysters need me to speak for them. For the last 23 years, I have been a pearl farmer. Our family owns Kamoga, and we are passionate about farming pearls sustainably. There are many methods that allow us to positively impact our lagoon environment. We can all positively impact our lagoon environments. Here are 2 ways in which we can do so. 1, use what you have. 2, help the fish, and the fish will help you. Use what you have. Life on a pearl farm is much like life on a boat. Teamwork, cooperation, and goodwill are crucial for a positive and productive work environment. We achieve this by breaking down traditional roles of employee, employer. Everyone takes a turn in cooking and cleaning, and everyone is trained to do a range of different jobs. By fostering cohesion and a family-like atmosphere, we minimize typical pearl farm problems like thievery and toxic work environments. We work together, play together, and share the pearl farm experience as a team. 2 things that are abundant on our island are sun and wind. That's where we get our power. Our fresh water is collected from roofs when it rains, and these things lessen our dependency on fossil fuels. Most of our pearl nuclei come from mother of pearl shell, not freshwater mussels that are traditionally used and are consistently threatened by overfishing. Independent research has shown that these mother of pearl nuclei statistically produce better quality pearls. That's right, recycling for the win. We can all positively impact our lagoon environments. Use what you have, help the fish, and the fish will help you. Our work helps innumerable baby fish get to the time in their lives when they're the most vulnerable to predators. I was really happy to hear my fellow pearl farming colleagues say very much the same things. The baskets that hold our oysters serve as nurseries for small fish, much the same way that mangrove tree systems do. Watching the video, I hope to show later, as they rush for shelter with the approach of the cameraman. Here's how we help each other. For any living creature to grow and prosper, it They must be able to breathe freely and feed adequately. Ocean currents ensure species distribution, so the vast majority of life in the sea drifts on the currents until coming into contact with a suitable place to breathe freely and feed adequately. Ocean currents, in much the same way at the bottom of a boat, thousands of marine organisms, pearl oysters also become a support structure for whatever is in search of a place to settle. Our pearl oysters are hung at a depth of about 20 to 30 feet that we think favors food and oxygen availability. What better place for an anemone, barnacle, coral, or algae to grow? What about the tiny fish, crabs, shrimp, octopus, and urchins? Since we're talking about ideal growing conditions, why not do it over water deep enough so that the natural predators of these things don't bother them? Many farms, and especially the industrial ones, deal with this problem by blasting their oysters with high-pressure water hoses, sending all the organisms back into the water. Many farms, and especially the industrial ones, most of it sinks to the bottom where it is eaten by fish, but some species, such as anemones and fast-growing sponges, are triggered to reproduce in a massive and artificial way. In many atolls and islands, this has caused huge imbalances that have enabled a single species to smother and outcompete the natural environment outside of pearl farms. One day over 20 years ago, we were in the process of routinely cleaning oysters, which for us at the time entailed bringing them to the farm and manually scraping every bit of fouling off of them. I noticed that as the day wore on, the oysters I would catch from the holding platform would become cleaner and cleaner all by themselves, making our work considerably easier. The fish population on the farm had become robust, and they had become conditioned to come running whenever we brought new oysters in to be cleaned. To me, the most fascinating thing about our Pavlov's parrotfish, as I like to call them, was that it wasn't just the parrotfish. The angelfish, the surgeonfish, the triggerfish, butterfly fish, you name it. They were all showing up to the party, and instead of fighting for the same morsel, each species would beeline it to the type of organism they were best adapted to eat. So instead of one fish becoming dominant and pushing the others aside, the food is just distributed across the board. Even groupers that have little interest in what everyone else is eating occasionally eat a party goer in the form of a butterfly fish or anyone else caught up in the excitement. We quickly clued in and built a number of underwater platforms in shallow water near the farm where we could bring oysters to be cleaned by the fish before taking them back out to live over deep water again. In our small corner of the atoll, it is easy to see a vibrant, healthy ecosystem. I believe that by farming in this way, we can help to restore lagoons to the state they were in before the arrival of man and the subsequent pressure that was and continues to be put on fish stocks. Because our fish contribute to the work that we do, we don't fish for them in our lagoon zone and prevent others from fishing there as well, just like we heard earlier. This provides a safe haven for them where they can reproduce in safety. It is well documented that preserves of this nature have powerful effects on preserving wild stocks. This conference is proof that the world is beginning to value a kinder, gentler type of pearl farming. We're delighted to be featured in the National Geographic website last year. I think we saw this slide earlier in Laurent's presentation. We can instill this in buyers by encouraging them to ask, where did your pearl come from? If the buyer cares, the farmers will ultimately care, and together we will change the world. Thank you.
Want to say a quick word about this video?
This video was done together with Laurent and Kent and Julian and Celine, and it was finished about a year ago, and it's I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a video of this expedition that we had with Kent that was funded by National Geographic and the White Foundation. So I think it really kind of makes all these things a bit more real.
When I'm underwater, I feel weightless, and I feel like there's so much mystery. It's so different from everything above the water, and that sounds like an obvious thing, but it's just something that's kind of awesome in the truest sense of the word. You don't know what you're going to see, you don't know what's going to happen, and there's always a slight panic about it. There's a slight pressure about getting to the surface again, and breathing your air, and there's just an edge to being underwater, and I just really enjoy that.
Pearl farming has its set of challenges, there's no question about it. From the fish that want to eat your oysters to hurricanes that want to blow you off the water, and sometimes we get sharks, giant barracuda, to even people who want to steal your oysters. But all the challenges don't end in the water, they go far beyond that to the market. Now the hardest part of pearl farming is selling our pearls for a price that sustains our work and lets us do what we love to do.
A lot of low quality pearls, a lot of small pearls are being put out on the market. So there's really an overproduction. That's driving the price down. And there's actually nearly a bit of a rarity in top high quality, large cultured pearls from Tahiti. It started 50 years ago here. And then what was happening is that everybody was moving to Tahiti, to the capital. There were no jobs here on the atolls, on the outer islands. And then came pearl farming. People could actually stay here. And what happened is that people no longer emigrated to Tahiti, but some of the people who had in the past emigrated to Tahiti actually came back. So it gave many of these islands really a future. So it's great to have this high value resources that pearls are, and that people can do that using indigenous resources, the local resources.
Once you have your oyster that's about 2.5 or 3 years old, you're ready to make a pearl. It's a lot like a human skin graft. You're basically taking cells from one part of an oyster and you're introducing them into the body of another oyster. And if all goes well, those cells will secrete pearl. And along with the tissue, you also put a small nucleus between 6 and 8 millimeters, and the tissue will grow over the nucleus and form a pearl. So then once the pearl comes out, there's what we call a surgreffe, which is a second graft, and the pearl is gently removed and it's replaced by another nucleus about the same size as the pearl. So this enables us to obtain a much larger pearl in the second generation of that oyster.
Essentially what we have done is ask the question, do pearl oyster farms have an effect on fish biodiversity in the lagoon? Well, we're doing what are called roving censuses. We enumerate all of the different species of fishes that we see and their relative abundance. It turns out that around pearl oyster farms there's a lot of additional food that might be available for fish. So where there are pearl oysters in their cages, there's lots of things growing on those cages and growing on the pearl oysters themselves. And fish and other organisms like to feed on everything that's growing on the oysters and growing on the oyster cages. Our data is very preliminary at present, but it turns out that those fishes that tend to feed on the things that are growing on the pearl oysters themselves appear to be in higher abundance around oyster farms. If you have healthy water quality, then you're going to have healthy pearls. If you have healthy water quality, you're going to have lots of the right kinds of fishes that are going to help to clean the oysters and the oyster racks.
Actually, that's really the nicest thing about pearl farming, or the message is that if you want to have top quality pearls, you need to really protect your environment. The more sensitive you are to that and the more responsible you are about that, the better the quality of pearls you get. People buy from wholesalers who buy from traders, and they assort the pearls so that they're matching quality. Nobody knows anything about the origin. Of course, they're Tahitian pearls, but you have 200 or 300 pearl farms that these pearls could come from. And I think as soon as you can actually know where the pearl comes from, or tell a story of what's happening here, then you can get a premium.
There are far more fish in the area in which we farm pearls now than when we got there well over 20 years ago. That's something that I'm really proud of. It's motivated lots of farms to employ the techniques that we use, mostly cleaning our oysters with the fish instead of with pressure hoses like the industrial farms do. Challenging as it might be, I'd love to see a sustainable certification for pearls someday. Hopefully we'll be at the forefront of that. If I could leave behind a legacy. It would be a legacy of caring for our oysters, caring for our lagoon, caring for the fish, caring for our people. That's really what's most important to me.